The third proof is teleological argument, and that's sometimes called the argument from design. Just as the complexity of a watch demands a watchmaker, so the marvel of the universe necessitates an intelligent designer. You look at the world today, and you look at how intricate it is. You say, come on. It's like taking a watch apart. Our oldest son used to love to take things apart. Didn't really do well at putting them back together. But he liked to take them apart when he was a little kid, you know. And it would be like you taking your watch and taking it all apart. Well, some of these electronic ones, you know, aren't very many parts to it. But let's say we have an old watch and it's got all those wheels and all those gears, and you take it all apart and you put it in a jar and then you shake it. What are the chances you get the watch back together?
0.
0. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, is it? That's the way I do mechanics on my car. I just drive down the road and pray. Go a few bumps, maybe it'll shake back in place. Yeah, that light will go off in a minute. It'll think it's okay in a while. It doesn't work. And when you look at the universe, you say, there must be an eternal God who's put this thing in order. And the farther we go into the cell, and microbiologists and cellular biologists, the closer they go down in smaller and smaller units, the more complex we become. You look at that and you say, this cannot be evolution. There is no way to get this flagellum to work unless somebody designed it first and made it just like that. There's no way that it could create itself. It just could not happen. You know, it's a single-cell organism and it has a tail on it, and the tail can't work unless all of its parts work at once. It cannot evolve. It's impossible. And yet people say, well, we still believe in, listen, we have a designer who designed everything. And when we look at the universe, we know there's a God because there's such design to it. I was a mathematics major in college. I love mathematics. Mathematics is amazing. There are right answers. Well, it's a simple math. There are right answers. Huh? There are no accidents in math. I love mathematics. You can get a right answer. You know, you take a philosophy class, or you take a sociology class or an English class. Are there right answers? I don't know. I took poetry one time, and the teacher said, what do you think? And I said, this is what I think. And she said, you're wrong. And I thought, what do you mean I'm wrong? Is there a right answer to this? I guess. She didn't know it. She didn't write the poem. How'd she know what the right answer was? But in math, you can get the right answer. You know? That's because there is a God who put it together. The Pythagorean theorem is awesome. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And you think, so what? Are you kidding me? God created this world with design in nature. It is perfect. It works. And when I look at mathematics and I look at physics and I look at the universe, I see a God who designed it. Now, can I know that God? I at least know He's there. And He is eternal and He is awesome. The fourth one is the moral argument, based on universal standards of ethics which transcend cultures and times. Have you ever wondered why murder is wrong everywhere? Where do we get that idea? It's just wrong everywhere. Name a society that thinks murder is okay. It won't last long. They just kill each other. Murder is wrong everywhere. Why is that? We inherently know that sex outside of a union of a man and a woman just doesn't work right. No society is built on no families. You can't build a society outside of having families. That's why it's so wrong about sex outside of marriage. That's why it's so wrong that homosexuality is wrong. You can't build a society on that kind of lifestyle. That makes it wrong. And we know that everywhere. All throughout all of history, we have known some sins are just sins. They're problems. They're not going to work. Where does that come from? Where does the morality inside a person's heart come from? Is it really the argument of the church in their neighborhood? Or is it that God has put it inside of each one? There is an argument from the morality that's around us. There has to be a transcendent being who is moral. What does it mean to be moral? To us who are Christians, we believe that means we're like God. We're moral. Well, that means there is a standard. And that standard means it must be God. Now, given, we got these proofs we look at, whether it's the ontological, cosmological, teleological, or moral argument. You say, all right, there's arguments for the existence of God, but they don't get enough. They don't give us enough. They tell me there is a God, but it doesn't tell me how to know that God. It doesn't tell me what he's like. But it does give me the basis for there is one, and he's pretty awesome. When I think about the fact that there is a designer, even though things are true, you can't know him outside of the Scriptures. And even though these proofs are right, and they satisfy me logically, and they help me say there is a God, God shows himself even beyond that with specific evidences. When I look at the universe, I see there is empirical evidence of God. And here's what the Westminster Catechism says about God. It says, the light of nature and the works of creation and providence manifest the goodness, wisdom, and power of God. Now he's kind of paraphrasing Romans, where Romans says, there must be a God, and you can know him. And you can know what he's like by looking at the universe around you, by looking at nature around you, by going to the mountains and seeing how awesome they are, how magnificent they are, by going to the most beautiful places in the world and saying, look what God has done. How many of us really go to the city and go, wow, look what God did? We generally look at the city and go, oh my goodness, look what we have done. Yeah, praise the Lord for traffic and asphalt. Temperatures just went up 5 degrees as you come into Kansas City because of all the rock, all the stone and asphalt and the cars and the emissions. Look what we have done. But you go out to the Rocky Mountains and you go and you get up on the mountains. We've been up on Pikes Peak, and you go up there and you look out and you think, oh, look what God has done. Look at the vastness of it, the awesomeness of it. Look at the beauty of the world around us. Modern art is just trash to me. It's just plain trash. Picasso, what can a crazy man do? Well, his paintings are foolishness. They are foolishness. They are a symbol of the foolishness of a world without Christ, without God. Art ought to have as its purpose to draw us to the God who created this world. You look at the great works of art, a Rembrandt, and you look at some of their paintings of those ages, and you begin to see into that picture, you see an awesomeness of God. There was an awesome evidence of God in their paintings. What you see in so much modern art is just the junk in the minds of man, not the awesomeness of God. You leave God off, you have poor art. Because there is evidence, empirical evidence. There is also intuitive evidence. We know intuitively, don't we, that there must be a God? Eternity in our hearts, that God shaped something in there. There is this sense where every one of us pursues God. We want to know this God. John Calvin called it the seed of religion. The seed of religion in every one of us. Listen to this. Now, here's John Calvin. He says, the final goal of the blessed life rests in the knowledge of God. Lest anyone then be excluded from access to happiness, he not only sowed in men's minds the seed of religion, but revealed himself and daily discloses himself in the whole workmanship of the universe. As a consequence, men cannot open their eyes without being compelled to see him. We have an intuition in us. We know there has to be a God. We want to know him. You can say, people all over the world, I don't want to know God. Well, yeah, they do. And God made them that way. They'll create their own gods, but they'll create a God. Israel always had a problem, didn't they? If you've been reading through, Exodus, Leviticus, 1st, 2nd Kings, Samuel, Chronicles, it's all about Israel creating other gods, going after other gods. Why are they doing that? Because we're made to know God. It's in our intuition. It's in our thoughts. It's in our drive. So what do people do? They say they don't believe in God? Oh, yeah, they do. They just don't want to name their God. They won't say he's the creator of the universe. They won't say that. They don't like that God. But the God they serve is themselves, their own passions, their own desires. That becomes their God.